Hey everybody, Aaron Knoll here from the Movie Battleground. Hope you're all doing well tonight, and welcome to the first of the new style of exhibitions here for the Movie Battleground. Now, you may be wondering why my camera is nicely pointed at the dresser that sits next to the desk from which I normally record, and that is simply because I am keeping up the facade of being here while not actually being here. While I was at the recording of the match, and you will see my attempt at humorous contributions via banner the entire match, I was stuck at school without a way to leave, so I was in a position where I couldn't exactly engage within the recording. As such, while I did oversee the recording and produce it behind the scenes, Papa West was willing to step in and take over the actual hosting duties of the show, so that is who you will see host. The reason that I am here is because Papa graciously took over hosting, but didn't have the normal type of notes that I would send to a host of a match because of the last minute nature of it. So I wanted to explain some of the changes that came with the exhibition matches in a more succinct way that may be at least in the way that helps people understand it, I guess, because Papa has his humorous ways of going about these things. So, simply put, exhibitions are now, for anyone who doesn't know, on a voluntary basis only, in that I do not plan exhibition matches. Instead, they are suggested to me via comments on a Facebook post on our pages TMG Entertainment or TMG Trivia, your choice to join one. Every couple of months, I'll put one up, and the exhibitions are chosen from posts that catch traction on the Facebook page. Secondly, there's been a change to the rules for exhibition matches in order to make them stand out a bit more and in order to make them a little more fun. We have chosen to remove the 2 minute portion of the debate, and instead of every player individually getting 2 minutes to expand, the open debate round will now be 6 minutes. So it goes, everyone gets a minute intro, then there will be 6 minutes of open debating, and then there will be a minute closing. And again, this is in order to make the actual structure of the exhibitions a little more lighthearted, a little more fun for the competitors to get more time to sort of scream and yell at each other. And again, to separate it further from the main game, have it follow some differences in the format. Let me know what you guys think of the execution of this in the comments below, how you guys think it worked out for the show. And other than that, once again, thank you to Zach Shelton for suggesting the idea. Thank you to the competitors for participating. And thank you to Papa West for taking over and hosting. Hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you next time physically on camera in the
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 38th favorite dad in the family community, Papa West, Jacob West, here for an exciting match. It's going to be an exhibition of sports movies. Aaron is not able to be here. Also, Aaron doesn't like sports, so Aaron did not feel he should be here. And instead, he asked the one guy who has posted several times that he wants sports or sports comedies as a strength in Battleground, me, this guy. Why he didn't ask me to compete, I don't know. I can't control his thoughts. He likes the real football. Good to know, Aaron. But this is going to be a match between two gentlemen, Zach Shelton and JakeTato. So I'm going to bring in one of them first. That is Aaron. I'm sorry. I'm going to let you take care of adding people in and out. Zach Shelton currently sitting at 1-3 with one knockout. Zach, I know you have talked to me about needing to get on a winning streak. I will let you know this could be it. However, a win or a loss will not reflect your record. How are you doing though?
Good. I enjoy sports movies, so anytime I could answer debate questions about them, I'm all for.
All right. I'm glad you're all for. So hopefully you can do a decent enough job against Tato. I'm gonna go ahead and kick you out, Zach. Nothing against you. I'm just gonna bring in Tato. Tato, get in here.
Hey, everybody.
Tato currently sitting at 2-4 with 2 knockouts. Again, just like I said to Zach, I have no idea if you are wanting to get on a win streak or not. But with this being an exhibition, that will not affect your record, but it's definitely good to get a win regardless. How are you feeling going into this?
Well, I haven't dropped a question in non-exhibitions and sobriety, so I'm doing pretty good as far as on a win streak goes. I also enjoy sports films, and I'm looking very forward to this one-on-one matchup I have coming up here. Unfortunately, with your contract situation previously.
And it's weird because like Aaron is forcing me to compete, and you think sports movies would be one that he wants me in, but apparently he doesn't. That being said,
Not.
I'm going to go ahead and bring in Zach because I'm going to kind of explain how this happened. Aaron made a post about asking for more exhibitions. Some people posted specific movies. This is where we got the idea of Papa's movie night. So it's a good thing people don't read sometimes, I guess. But Zach did make the comment about wanting to do sports films as a debate, and Tato accepted his offer. And so we are going to wait. I'm thinking about something. Zach picked this. I knocked out Zach. Tato accepted. I knocked out Tato. So I have to host this about 2 people who I have knocked out, and I can't partake. Aaron, you gave me reins. You have to deal with this. This is going to be a 3-way. Zach versus Tato versus Papa. Throw up my record. I actually have no idea what my record.
Can we do nothing about this?
We can do nothing about this. Okay. There we go. Papa is currently 3-4 with 2 knockouts. See, guys, it's possible to get a win without knocking someone out. It's incredibly hard, I know. Hopefully, y'all will feel that joy one of these days. So with that, this is going to be a 3-way. How that works, it's going to be a very good time. But we have 3 questions for the 3 of us. All 3 of us have answered. Well, y'all 2 have answered. I'm going to answer. And then we're going to have times. We're going to have a 1-minute opening. We're going to have a 6-minute freeform debate between the 3 of us and a 1-minute close. I'm going to go ahead and go first with question number 1 as I bring up the timer. Question number 1 is, what is the best sports film sequel of all time? As y'all can see, there's a timer. I don't know why we're doing it in that view, but we're doing it in that view. So all 3 of us are going to have a 1-minute opening. I'm going to go first on this one. I don't know who's going to go second, who's going to go third. I'm going to make a formal decision during my 1-minute opening on who's going to go after me. But with that, gentlemen, we have 1 minute on the clock to open this up. Time's going to start for me as I start talking. So there are a ton of, yeah, sure, whatever, Aaron. There are a ton of sequels out there, some good, some bad. And we have to ask ourselves, why is there a sequel and why is it important? What does a sequel do? The first thing a sequel does is it builds off of the original. It doesn't necessarily have to defeat the original, but it has to build off of the original. It has to bring in things that the original led up to but didn't quite give us. But it also needs to kind of stand on its own. So without further thought, the best sports film of all time is Major League 2, the baseball comedy brought back for a second time. Major League 2, the best sequel of all time. I'm going to go ahead and concede my last 5 seconds. I'm going to reset it. And the person going second is going to be Tato. Is that okay?
Oh, wait, what am I hearing? Sorry, wait, it's Adrian Balboa. She's telling me, win. Well, what are we waiting for? The best sports film sequel of all time is Rocky 2. one of the things that makes it a great sequel is that it picks up immediately where its predecessor left off, truly sequelizing the first film. And it elevates these stakes. Now Apollo knows that Rocky is a legitimate threat. He's not slacking on his training anymore. That threat is elevated for both Apollo and Rocky. Rocky's eye damage is a legitimate concern at this point. It's not material that's been recycled a billion times here. Rocky and Adrian are at their best in this film. Adrian's out of her shell. It really shows the true core of those two characters. Rocky's proposal is fucking adorable. This is also Rocky's best rivalry and the best chapter of it. It is the best Apollo.
And your time is up. So with that, I'm going to reset it. Zach, we're moving on to your 1 minute opening. Time starts when you start.
So sometimes in a sequel, you do want to build on everything that has come before, but you also want to kind of build it with like a message or like what you're really trying to go for. And the one that I am choosing is Creed. And this movie deals a lot with legacy and wanting to either go out on your own or try to live off of your famous name. And that's what Adonis Johnson does in this. He doesn't want to take on the last name of Creed in terms of wanting to sour that name, but in the same vein, he wants to actually make it on his own and see what he can do. And this also gives you a different side of Rocky Balboa as well.
And that is time for you. So I picked Major League 2, Tato picked Rocky 2, and then Zach picked Creed. So 3 very interesting picks from the 3 of us. So with that, we're going to move on to our 6 minute opening. Time starts right now because I'm going to go ahead and start talking real quick. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to give you all that chance. But I just kind of want to talk about Major League 2. Obviously, with Major League, you have this ragtag group that do the unthinkable. They save their season. They don't have to move to Miami. They win their division. And then it kind of ends. We don't really know exactly what goes on afterwards. And then the opening to Major League 2 does a fantastic job. You have Bob Uecker playing Harry Doyle, this announcer who pretty much bridges the gap. The Indians, after winning the division, they lose in the championship series. They do not make it to the World Series like everyone thought. But we have a new owner of the team, former third baseman. I'm blanking on his name at the moment. Sweet. Thank you for stopping us to announce that. Has bought the team. We kind of go back to this ragtag team. Wild Thing has lost his mojo. We have all these great players that we kind of fell in love with, bring them back, give them new tropes. We have new players, Isiru Tanaka from the Giants, but not those Giants. Hilarious line right there, too. And so we build up from this team who didn't do what they were supposed to last season, and we bring them back. Spoiler alert, they actually win the championship series, and they move on. I'm going to go ahead and let y'all talk about.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and demolish Major League 2 quick. No one in this movie or making this movie gave a shit about anything. The editing in this movie is dog shit. It doesn't get baseball rules correct at all. It doesn't get the baseball of the time correctly. The returning characters are all shells of their former selves. And as you mentioned, there's a guy whose name is Kamikaze Tanaka. That character goes over as well as you think that character goes over.
Well, it was also 1990s. So
yeah, it's still not good. It's not. That movie is an unfunny comedy. That is the worst type of movie it can be. It doesn't come close to being in this conversation. Reception, Major League 2 has 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. Papa, what you should do with the rest of this question is plead the fifth.
See, and my problem with Major League 2 is that it felt like an unneeded sequel. It seems like you had a great ending to where it was. And even if you did have a sequel, it seemed like the writing was good, but the performances were not good at all. There was no energy, no personality. The only good characters in this entire movie were Jack Parkman and Tanaka. And because everybody else who returned was not at any of their levels. And now, as far as Rocky 2, though, I just feel like this is just a retread of the first one with a kind of a new thing in sports movies that you don't really see, in terms of someone who wins a match or fight in Apollo, but wants to do a rematch against the same person because he didn't like the way he won.
No. It's the pride. It's the people keep writing letters to it, and people are talking shit to his kids at school. He cannot, as the champion of the world, handle that.
But if you think about Rocky, his big motivation in the first one was just to go the distance with Apollo Creed. After that, he was done. It's like there was nothing else for him to do. So there's really not a big motivation in this one for Rocky.
Yeah, he wants to take care of his pregnant wife is the motivation in this one. You're off on these.
So money, which is basically...
If anything, Creed is more of a rehash of Rocky than Rocky is. Rocky 2 is. Rocky 2 raises the stakes. The reason why Rocky 2 is a better sequel than Creed is because Creed is Donnie's first story. Now, I'm not arguing that Creed shouldn't have been accepted, just that it is not as good of a sequel as Rocky 2.
If you think about it, Creed actually reinvigorated the franchise after Rocky Balboa and that reception by fans. So were people really weren't sure if Creed would work, but going in a different direction and making it more modern, I felt like actually helped reinvigorate and get people back into loving the Rocky franchise.
I will just quickly throw out that Adrian and Rocky are much better than Donnie and Bianca in these respective movies, and Adrian and Rocky in general in Rocky 2 are better than Donnie and Bianca at all.
Well, I just feel like Bianca is like more headstrong than Adrian, and she's a different type of motivation for Donnie compared to what Adrian is. It's just like she's that tough love, but sometimes that's the kind that you need.
So I'll go ahead and hop in. Rocky and Adrian is definitely a better love story than Adonis and whoever he is in love with. But y'all talk about my sequel being unwanted. Rocky ended perfectly. Nobody asked for Rocky 2. And nobody, after 30 years, asked for Rocky to come back in Creed or that franchise to even have a second thought. And with that, we are done with our 6 minutes. We're going to go ahead and go into our 1 minute closing. Again, because I started, I'm going to go ahead and start off the closing. Time starts right meow. Again, y'all talk about unwanted. Really, none of these were unwanted. You can talk about my 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes is not the end all be all. Guess what? Critics didn't love it because it's not a drama. It's not based off of a true story. Okay, it's a funny comedy, and that's why I love it. That's why millions and millions of people love it. That's why on most every sports sequel, what the best sports sequel is, Major League 2 is in the conversation. Rotten Tomatoes, nobody really cares about. You talk about my actors having no energy. Wild Thing has no energy up until the end because that is his character. The fan in the stands berating his entire team, that's energy. Serrano has energy. Baker, the rookie catcher, that's energy. Taylor, the catcher whose knees are too old, that is energy. I can name off all these characters who give a great performance. You say they're shells of themselves. And then also the fun, hey, I'm going to point my spot. I'm going to hit the ball and I'm going to miss twice. Funny. Time's up. With that, we're going to move on to Tato. Your 1 minute closing starts when you start.
Yeah, fuckloads of funny comedies have high scores on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not like there are just no high-scored comedies on Rotten Tomatoes. There are high-scored comedy sequels on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm sure there are higher-scored comedy funny sports sequels on Rotten Tomatoes. And no, it's not the be all end all, but it is a good measure. Any which way. I really, like I said, I think Rocky 2 is the better sequel than Creed. Just as a sequel, it picks up that story. It raises the stakes of that story. It takes Rocky to the next level. I think all of the points you made, I was able to counter pretty well on that front. So I just got to say that I really do think that the best film sports sequel of all time is Rocky 2. And I'll yield that 2 seconds.
And Tato, that is time. With that, Zach, we're moving on to you for your 1 minute closing. Time starts when you start.
So, again, I think Creed is the best sports movie sequel, more because it reinvigorated the franchise after Rocky Balboa. And who knew that people would be clamoring again to get back into the world of Rocky Balboa with Creed. And in this one, you get Rocky Balboa in a different sort of way. You get him more as the mentor and trainer of Adonis. And whereas he's helping Adonis is helping him with his own personal battles. And you get a emotional type of Rocky who seems more relatable whereas in some movies. And also, I will say that Omar Epps is no Wesley Snipes.
I don't understand the reference, but thank you for that, Zach. I get the reference, people. With that, I'm going to go ahead and kick out the competitors by Zach, by Tato. And I'm going to bring in Ross, Diaz, and Don. Gentlemen, I don't think I announced y'all as our judges tonight. For that, I am sorry. Our judges tonight, Ross Bristow, Chris Diaz, and Don Tucker. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start off with Ross. Ross, who gets your vote and why?
I'm gonna go with Zachary, only because he brought up more points about why Creed reinvigorated the franchise, and then you brought up about how funny comedies do not get good Rotten Tomato scores. I looked it up, and the original Major League actually has an 83. So yeah, too, and then the whole RPG is what really set me over not voting for Major League 2. So I'm gonna go with the one that voted for Creed.
Okay, so that is Zach. Zach getting the first vote.
No, Zach. Yeah.
Diaz, we're moving on to you. Who gets your vote and why?
So it did come down Don because I went the opposite. I went with Tato. I think Tato hit what it is that Rocky 2 is a sequel to Rocky, that it more serves as a sequel. Where it created its own scene. That didn't pull much other than Adonis and Rocky, the positive that, but I felt Tato put up a moment for the film, moment that made it great as it is. I wanted to hear a little bit more from Zachary about the story, about to have it connect to Rocky for a bunch of other things. So Tato wanted for me.
Okay, so with that, we're in a very interesting predicament. Before I go to Don, I just want to explain something real quick. Because there are 3 competitors, if Don voted for me, then we'd be at a standstill. And I guess we'd have another, however long that was, debate, roughly 20 minutes. And nobody really wants to do that. That would not be fun because we just spent some time debating it. So with that, Don, what I'm going to do, I'm going to kick me out. You cannot vote for me, no matter how much I want you to. So between Tato and Zach, who gets this point?
Yeah, I agree with Chris. Tato just made a lot more points, and I think he did a better job of knocking down Major League 2 for me also. So I went with Tato ultimately.
Debate rounds are 12 minutes, apparently. I could not do... Yeah, hey, they are. I could not do quick enough math in my head. Thank you, fact checkers, for doing that to me. But to correct y'all, they both did a great job of tearing down Major League 2 right at the very beginning. It made me feel horrible as a person. Tato does get the first vote. Judges, thank you so much for that as I bring back our competitors. With this, we're going to move on to question number 2. Question number 2 is going to be the speed round. Insert graphic here. No graphic. This one's going to be a little bit different. There's going to be no debate round. Everyone's going to have their own individual time. We're going to have a 1 minute opening, a minute and 30 kind of second phase instead of the 2 minute pitch round, minute 30, and then a 45-second close. So that is how that's going to work. We're all three going to have our own times. We're going to go in a line. Tato's going to start this one out. So with that, let's get into our speed round question, which is, what is the best sport to make a movie out of? Tato, you're going to start this one off. I'm going to share my screen. Boo, 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 boo. Boo. There we go. You have a minute to open this up. Time starts when you start.
Alrighty. Well, the best sport to make a movie out of is American football. You can make a great football movie for any age group. For little kids, you get Little Giants, and Air Bud Golden Receiver is not a bad movie for kids. As far as then you get older, you can show them Remember the Titans and Rudy. You can then later on get to Varsity Blues and Replacements and like the R-rated comedy funny ones that are funny for 16, 17-year-olds and stuff like that. Then hey, you don't even need to make a movie about players. You can make a great movie about a football agent in Jerry Maguire. Even Oliver Stone made an amazing football flick in Any Given Sunday. And you just cannot replicate the shared physical pain, grit, and determination that you can see in American football movies.
And time. With that, Zach, we're going to move on to you. You have 1 minute to open up your argument.
So the sport I went with is a little outside the box in a way, but I feel like it's a sport that not a lot of movies are made out of, but the ones that they do are really good movies that really get people's attentions, and that is professional car racing. And the main thing with this is that it can fit so well into multiple different categories. You could go comedy with Talladega Nights. You could go documentary with Senna. You could go drama with Days of Thunder or Rush or Driven. And you can even go family with Speed Racer and Cars. And I'll give you more examples of this in my expansion.
All right. And with that, your time is up. We're now going to move on to me for my 1 minute opening. Time starts right now. There's only one answer, and that is America's pastime, the world's pastime, let's be honest, because this is a sport played all around the world, and that is baseball. Baseball. There we go. I already talked about Major League 2. Major League is also another great one. Moneyball, 42, The Sandlot, Bad News Bears. Bad News Bears, they made 2 of them. The Rookie, The Scout, Rookie of the Year. I could waste my time announcing movies. But let's be honest. You can have a movie about the players. You can have a movie about the fans. You could have a movie about the owners. You could have a movie about children playing the game. And one great thing about it, it's worldwide. Every nation plays baseball. There's a reason it's called the World Series and not the Nations Series. That is my time. With that, we're going to move on to our minute and a half. Tato, you're going to go ahead and start this one off. Time starts when you start.
Alrighty, so I'll just throw a couple of quick thoughts on what you guys said. Racing movies, despite being in separate genres, all kind of blend together. And Cars, that's the example you want to go with. The worst Pixar movies there are, period. All right. World Series makes no sense. Only Canadian and USA teams, I believe, compete in that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, so you don't get the same feel of teamwork in baseball movies that you can get on a football field. You don't get to see the cop and the con hook up for an epic play like you do in The Replacements. You don't get bonding through blood, sweat, and tears moments in racing or baseball flicks as much as you do in football flicks. Example, there's a movie called Facing the Giants. They have a practice drill called the death crawl where you have to crawl with a guy on your back. And this dude thinks he can like only make it 30 yards, but this coach blindfolds him and it's so inspirational. He makes him like he doesn't want him getting distracted by like seeing the 30-yard line, and he crawls the whole 100 yards with a 140-pound kid on his back. Scene is epic. And you just you can't get that scene. You can't make a kids movie about racing. Cars is not good. You can't make baseball. You can't make high school baseball flicks because high school baseball is boring as shit.
And time. With that, Zach, we're going to move on to your 1 minute and 30 second.
So one thing that makes car racing more unique than both baseball and football is it more focuses on the individual than it does about the team. Yes, you could be racing against someone. For example, Ricky Bobby against Gerard in Talladega Nights. But it's still Ricky Bobby's story, so you get more in depth with the individual characters, and you get to learn more about their life. Even Ken Miles in Ford vs. Ferrari, you get to learn more about his family and just his relationships. In terms of like baseball and football, yes, you have a team aspect to it, but there's also a lot of characters in there, which and some might say, yes, you could have those cool interactions, but where's the focus even going? Is it going on the coach? Is it going on certain players? Is it going on the owner? So for that, it could get kind of confusing in terms of who you really want to put the focus on to really tell the story. And I'll concede my 5 seconds. You're muted.
Hey, fun fact, guys, I'm muted. Zach, your time is done. So now we're going to move on to my minute and 30 time. Time starts right now. Tato, I like how you brought up facing the Giants in that one scene because, yes, that is a great scene. The rest of the movie, however, I really enjoy, but a lot of people don't because it forces Christianity down your throat. It is a Christian movie made by a church that he tells the kids, you want to play on this team, you have to be a Christian. We have to praise God for everything. Works for a very small group of people, but not everybody. And that's what a lot of football movies are. You have great scenes. You have that one tearjerker scene, but the rest of the movie it is what it is. And Zach, you have some good racing movies, but there's a reason there aren't a lot of racing movies. And that's because racing in and of itself is boring. If you look at NASCAR, what is NASCAR? A left turn, and another left turn, and another left turn, and another left turn over 200 times. Yes, you have the little funny comedy in there with Talladega Nights, Ballad of Ricky Bobby. But let's be honest, a lot of those funny scenes are scenes that happen outside of the racetrack. As far as baseball goes, you can bring up your Little Giants, Tato. I'm going to bring on the Sandlot. You want to talk about baseball being boring? Maybe for some people, baseball is actually really fun. With that, I didn't realize I had 5 seconds left. I have a timer right in front of me. I wasn't watching. We are now moving on to our 45-second closing. Another fun fact there. Thank you, fact checkers, for that. Tato, we're going to move on to you for your 45-second opening. Time starts when you start.
Alrighty. The first thing that I want to say is that there's nothing sexier than a quarterback. Like, no race car driver looks as cool as a fucking quarterback. No fucking pitcher looks or catcher. Like, baseball players are terrible. While I don't necessarily subscribe to the whole forcing people to be Christian thing, that's not good. I think it's good that Christians can also make good football movies too, hypothetically. And even if that scene is the only good scene there, it's still you can still attribute that to using that to make a good football movie, and that is why football is the best sport to make a movie out of. I think team building is better than individual performances as well. Football is the best.
Time's up. With that, Zach, we're moving on to you for your 45-second closing.
So I'm just going to reiterate what I said in terms of why I think professional car racing does work as the best sport to make a movie out of. It works because it can fit in multiple categories with some great movies thrown in, but it also deals with the individual. Even with some of the face-offs that you get, you still get to be engaged more with the individual and what they are going through, both on the track and off of it. And that's what makes them more relatable. And that's why professional car racing is the best sport to make a movie out of.
And your time is done. We're now going to move on to mine. 45 seconds to close this one out. Tato, for every good football movie, there's unnecessary roughness and those just trashy comedy movies. Zach, you just made the comment about how you're relatable on the track and off the track. Again, if I have to watch stuff off of the track, your movie is not as good. Your sport is not good to watch your movie about. For every Little Giants that I love, you have The Sandlot, you have Hardball. Baseball is the only sport where you can take a ragtag group of players and make them win the championship, and it makes sense because that is what happens in actual baseball. Baseball also has the most history of any sport, so it's wide open for any movie, any controversy. 42, 8 men out. All right, with that, we are done with the speed round. So I'm going to go ahead and kick out the competitors. Bye, Tato. Bye, Zach. And I'm going to bring in our judges, Diaz, Don, and Ross. So with that, Diaz, we're going to go ahead and start off with you. Who gets your vote and why?
First of all, there were a lot of slander here I do not exactly agree with, but pretty that aside, I had to go with the one that made the most sense and explained on every detail, whether fan, whether coach. I had to go with Papa here for baseball.
All right,
Just
giving me
out,
the vote.
Putting out every explanation you can. Hear honor about racing points, football is just the same thing about everything. You should go for the fan, to the spectator, to the team, the coach, all in one baseball movie. So even though I totally agree, Papa does get the vote.
All right, Diaz, thank you for that. Don, we're going to go ahead and move on to you. Who gets your vote and why?
Yeah, I kind of went. I went the other way. I think Tato actually had the better arguments for football. Why it's the better sport as far as the team aspect and being able to show on the field the camaraderie between the teams. And yeah, quarterbacks are cool. that was a fun point. It wasn't a determining point, but it was a fun point. Yeah, so I went with Tato. Yeah.
All right. So we have one vote for me, one vote for Tato. Ross, you cannot vote for Zach, no matter how much you want to.
No,
Unfortunately,
no.
he is voted out. So it's between me or Tato. Who gets your vote and why?
Tato, only because he brought up how many different types of movies there are, and then how you can focus on other types, and then about the coach and stuff, and even if you would have brought up Draft Day, that would have been another one, which is a good movie. So yeah, so I'm gonna go vote for Tato for football, and yes, quarterbacks are cool.
No,
All right. So with that, judges, thank you for that. Tato gets the point. Bye, judges. Thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the competitors. So with that, Tato is currently in the lead 2-0. Because he listed movies. I felt I listed movies at my opening. So Ross, I don't know why he didn't vote for me. But that being said, we're going to move on to question number 3 because I really want to do question number 3. Question number 3 is. I just do not remember question 3. What is question 3? Aaron, question
What
3.
film that wouldn't
There we
be
go.
conventionally considered a sports film should be considered one?
What film that wouldn't conventionally be considered a sports film should be considered one?
Zach,
With
we'll
that,
go to you.
hey, who's hosting this?
Me now, motherfucker.
I'm doing this. Shut up, Tato. So with that, Zach, we are moving on to you. You're going to have the first minute to open as I bring out the timer. There we go. We're going to move on to you with your 1 minute. Time starts when you start talking.
So the movie that I picked for this question is Hidalgo, which is actually a horse racing movie, but it deals with a lot more than horse racing. To me, it deals with the theme of being an outsider or being someone that's an underdog. That's the word I was looking for. I just couldn't think of it right now. But in terms of Frank Hopkins and Hidalgo, they are invited to this race in Saudi Arabia where they are complete outsiders and underdogs, where it's an American and his Mustang going up against Saudis and their thoroughbreds and doing all that you can to prove that you have one more gasp of air.
Time is up. With that, we are going to move on to me for my 1 minute opening, which is going to start right now. The basic thing with this question, you have to ask yourself, why should my film be considered a sports film? What's it going to change in the history of filmmaking? And so I thought long and hard. I gave an answer and then decided that my answer wasn't good enough to be an acceptable answer. It wasn't because it technically is a sports movie. It's because I didn't like the answer. So my true answer is, boom, going to pop up right here. Forrest Gump. Pop up, Forrest Gump. Pop up. There we go. Forrest Gump should be considered a sports film. Zach talked about his movie being an underdog story for a race. This is an underdog story for a gentleman's entire life. But also one really nice fact is, what does sports do for Forrest? Sports gives Forrest a purpose in life, which is why, because football and ping pong, it should be a sports movie. With that, time is up for me. Tato, we're going to move on to you. Papa's initial answer was rejected. He did not change. He did not change of choice. Fact checkers need to go back to grammar school because I do not understand that sentence.
You did not change of choice.
With that, Tato, we're going to move on to you with your 1 minute opening.
Alrighty. Well, all of us are here because we love mental sports. And I will be damned if poker is not the most exhilarating and high-stakes mental sport of them all. The movie that is not considered a sports film that should be is Rounders. Rounders opens up on one of the classic sports tropes of the guy getting hurt, in Matt Damon's character's Mike's case, by losing $30,000. Then he has to promise his girlfriend that he's done with the game, and of course he has to break that promise because the movie has to happen. It continues with the sports trope of the talented fuck-up in Edward Norton's Worm character, and as far as great sports villains go, John Malkovich's Teddy KGB is amazing. Not since Rocky IV has there been a more important Russian versus American matchup, and we do it mentally this time around.
Now it is time. With that, we're going to move on to the 6 minute debate between all of us. Time starts when someone starts.
I'll just say you guys go ahead and good luck.
Okay, Tato, I will accept that as a response. Zach, what were you about to say?
I was just going to say, there are things with your movie, Papa, that I don't really consider it much of a sports movie. Yes, you do have ping pong in there and you do have football, but there's not, you have like 2 scenes of each, which that's to me not enough to really show enough of a sports movie. And also, I don't know, he might have like a lower IQ, but I don't know if I consider Forrest an underdog because it seems like things usually come really easy to him. And for that, I don't know if I would consider him really an underdog.
You don't consider Forrest Gump an underdog. Yes, I realize he is fighting a disability with having a lower IQ. Guess what? Forrest wasn't supposed to go to school. That's an underdog story right there. He did go to school. We're not going to talk about why he went to school. Forrest was bullied as a child. That's an underdog story right there. Forrest overcame his bullying by running, not really running away, just running in general, which when Tom Landry, best football coach, or was it Bear Bryant, a football coach, I am not going to read that as I am talking. Aaron quit posting stuff in the private chat and distracting me. Going back to what I was saying, great, I lost my train of thought. Thank you for that, Aaron. Forrest's life is an underdog story. Some of it, yes, is because of his handicap, but he is dealt a deck of cards, and he lives life to the fullest because of it. You talk about just a couple scenes involved with sports. I mean, you do have the reason he is at the University of Alabama, the reason he fights racism is because he's on the football team. So, yes, there's only couple scenes of football. There's a reason for football for many other scenes. The reason he's in Washington, D.C. meeting John F. Kennedy is because he's an All-American. The reason he goes to China is because of ping pong. He fights for world peace because of a sport. And then what does he do with most of his money? He kind of slows down, goes home, and he paints the football field. Another thing about sports. Let me ask you something, Zach. Why would anything change if Hidalgo was technically a sports film? Because nobody watched Hidalgo. Nobody cares about Hidalgo. Forrest Gump won Best Picture. People care about Forrest Gump today.
Well, again, I just feel like there's a lot of the message of being an outsider and going against what people say. So in a way, Frank Hopkins and Hidalgo is kind of like Forrest Gump, where they both have to deal with obstacles. Now, let's go to Rounders, though. Rounders, to me, I feel like maybe some people might consider this different, but it is very exposition heavy and very narration heavy, where I just feel like that, to me, it doesn't show action, whereas our two movies, Papa, I feel like they have narration, but they kind of are showing it in that way.
Okay.
I think a lot of the poker gets showed really well in Rounders.
I also think that's a mute point because Tato pretty much said he was just going to let the two of us go. Unless, Tato, are you going to...
Oh, no, I was just going to see what happens.
Okay, sweet. So you can talk about Rounders all you want, Zach. Here's the thing. You just said it. Hidalgo, Viggo Mortensen's character, and Hidalgo are just like Forrest Gump. Just not as good. Here's the thing. You go up to somebody and you start talking about sports. You know, I'm not a sports fan. I don't like people hitting each other. Or I just find it boring. But see, here's something great about sports. Sports can change someone's life. It gives people opportunities that they wouldn't have had beforehand. It puts people in situations they would have never dreamed of being in. And that's exactly what happens with Forrest Gump. Several of those reasons are because of sports. So it shows you can have a sports film without relying on the sport itself, but the opportunity that sports can give you, which is exactly what happens to Forrest in his life.
You have anything else?
Yeah, I can say a lot more. Tato.
Wait, sorry. Yes, I was trying to hit the unmute button and my notes were kept floating up above it. Apologies. Okay. Well, one thing I will say is Forrest Gump is much more of a war movie than a sports movie. It's got like 3 sports scenes in it. If we're branching out beyond base genres, action drama, comedy, romance, you go to war for Forrest Gump before you go to sports.
And what does he do after he cannot fight anymore? He plays ping pong. So sports revolves around his life during the war and after the war. Boom, roasted. As far as Rounders goes, again, nobody cares about Rounders. Nobody watched Rounders. So what would it change if it was a sports movie? And that is time. With that, we're going to move on to the 1 minute closing. Zach, thank you, fact checkers, for bringing up something I was going to make a comment of later on in the match. But with that, Zach, we're moving on to you for your 1 minute closing. Time starts when you start talking.
So to me, I feel like Hidalgo is probably the best sports movie because it deals with a lot of different ways in which different aspects of sports movies. Like I said, you get the underdog and the outsider story because Frank Hopkins is part Native American, where that is kind of like he's an outsider in himself as well. You also have the obstacles that he has to deal with in terms of finishing the race, but also in what him and Hidalgo have to deal with in their older age, which brings up the last point in terms of, like, in sports movies, people always say, can you give us one more chance with that last breath? With these two, it's with this advanced age, can you give us just one last run at greatness?
All right, with that, Zach's time is done. We're going to move on to me with my 1 minute. Time starts right now. Both of you brought up that sports isn't in my movie a lot. Fun fact, we're arguing of why a movie that is not a sports movie should be considered one. Doesn't really matter how much of the sports is in there. It just matters that it can be considered a sports film and why it should be. I've already said why. There are moments of sports in it, but also a lot of Forrest's life is dictated because he was given an opportunity in sports. Yes, he went to the University of Alabama, is one of the best punt returners of all time, even better than Devin Hester. Devin Hester can't make the Hall of Fame. He got to fight racism while at the University of Alabama. He got to meet John F. Kennedy because of the University of Alabama. Whenever he couldn't fight anymore, he was a war hero, but he got shot in the butt. He couldn't fight anymore. What did he do? He turned to sports. That is why Forrest Gump should be a sports film. My time is done. Tato, unmute yourself and your 1 minute.
Dear gentlemen of the jury, I started out by pointing out that we are all here because we love mental sports. And what I just did was the greatest mental sport of them all. I let these two lemmings crash into each other and tear each other down, and I left myself defenses. They could have said anything they wanted about Rounders. None of them actually had anything bad to say about Rounders. Papa threw in one thing about it's not about no one cares about the movie. Who cares if no one cares about the movie? Poker is a sport. Rounders should be considered a sports movie, and it is one of the best that there is. Like I said, Teddy KGB is an amazing sports villain. Edward Norton's Worm is a classic sports character of the talented fuck-up. Matt Damon's Mike is the character who promises his girl that he won't do it again, but then does it again. Rounders is a sports movie.
And time. With that, I'm going to go ahead and kick out the competitors. Bye, Zach. Bye, Tato. And I'm going to bring in the judges, Don, Diaz, and Ross has his camera off, but he should still be here. Ross, please turn on. Well, you don't have to turn on your camera.
It's fine. Don't worry. Sorry.
You did. Sweet. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start off with Don. Don, who gets your point and why?
Yeah, I really wanted to go with Tato, but Papa, I think Tato not going in the debate round, I think was too much. And I think you just, Papa, you explained why Forrest Gump, sports is central to his story overall throughout the movie, and that he is the underdog in that. So, yeah, I went with Papa. Yep.
All right, so I am getting the first vote. Ross, we are moving on to you now. Who gets your vote and why?
I'm actually gonna go with Tato again, only because, not his scenes. Okay, his movie does not really have any sports in it, but it has sports elements. Your movie has sports in it, has sports scenes, so it doesn't really, so that automatically makes it a sports movie to me, and that's the only reason. And then, I never saw Hidalgo, so I can't really comment on that. But yeah,
Good, Mary.
Most people didn't, Ross, but that's okay.
I did.
We have one vote for me, one vote for Tato. Chris, we are moving on to you. Who gets your vote and why? Between me and Tato, you cannot vote for Zach. I'm sorry.
All right. So go with the dick move that Tato do, or should I go with Papa? I had to go with Papa. Like, at least he actually explained every detail about Forrest Gump, despite my opinion how I feel about that movie. It's different. But he explained the sport element. He explained how it evolved out Forrest Gump life in a lot of different way. A lot of it track about, but yeah, Papa won the vote. Yeah.
All right, so with that, Chris,
That was
voting
tough.
for
I
me,
love rounders. It's tough.
Papa gets the final point, which means that's the wrong one. And your winner by a final score of 2-1-0. Tato himself, JakeTato. Tato, how are you feeling after that win?
I'm feeling good. I decided to have some fun since I was in a situation to experiment. And goddamn, the fact that I took a vote there, I'm pretty damn pleased with myself.
Definitely. The fact that you did get a vote made me so angry because your last minute of closing, I'm like, you son of a bitch.
For a second, I thought I pulled it.
Over and taking the loss. That is amazing. How you were able to come up with a debate that actually held merit to it. I love it. I also hate it. That's why I messaged you, Zach. Unfortunately, not able to get a point, but you did get a vote. You kicked me out of the first question, so do not hold your head in shame. You did something you could not do when you played me individually. How are you feeling after that?
I wish I could have done better because I thought I had some good points. It just that I guess that third round it just didn't work for me in the way I wanted to, but I had fun. So
all right, and with that, Papa, you did something. You were very instrumental in knocking out a stat that Tato was very proud of at the beginning of this match. Tato, since you have been sober, you have not lost a question in an exhibition. No longer, motherfucker. I beat you in a question.
I actually meant outside of an exhibition, but still.
You dropped you dropped a question.
I did. I gave you one as a gift. I'm a generous overlord.
All right.
Hey.
But with that, I don't think I have anything else to add. Congratulations, Tato, on getting that win. Again, this has nothing to do on your record, but it is definitely a mental victory. I have no idea what's next for you in the world of Movie Battleground. The stat was he's won 6 of 6 rounds in real debate. He has already lost an exhibition sober. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Fun Fact Checker, for a not super fun chat. Fact Checker, do we know Tato's next match?
I do not believe we do.
Boobity boobity boo.
Maybe it's a mystery.
I don't know. So I'm gonna ask you my normal. We do not. I'm gonna ask you my normal TMG trivia match. Is there anyone you want to play?
Yeah, whoever's in my record. I believe Kevin Poss is possibly in my territory. I think there are some other cats in that sub 500 territory. I got to get another win or two there.
All right. kind of building to that 500 range. You mentioned Kevin Poss. I'm on there, so we'll see if Aaron wants me to face you again, because he likes doing that. Papa's next match is some prick named Aaron. Zach's next match is Dean Lewis. So Zach, we know your next competitor is Dean Lewis. I don't know who that is. I just know his Facebook picture, or the picture Aaron posts is him flipping you off. Are you scared of him flipping you off, or?
Nope.
Okay. Zach, I love it. No fear. Just ready to take everyone on. And yes, I am taking on Aaron Knoll. Papa's Revenge Tour is alive and well. So with that, Dean is British. That's another really fun fact for you, Zach. Good luck.
I've played someone British before, so
yeah. Fun fact: the Americans are undefeated against the British in all wars. Zach, so do not let us down. But for me, for Tato, for Zach, for Ross, for Diaz, and for Don, thank you so much for watching. Make smart choices. Wash your hands. Or don't. I really don't care. Not your dad. But I could be your papa. Bye, everybody. I really hope I wasn't supposed to end it, because I'm ending it.